Today we're going to talk about Second Chronicles chapter 30. I can be a peacemaker. In Second Chronicles 30, Hezekiah was the king of Judah. He invited the rival kingdom of Israel to gather in Jerusalem to celebrate Passover, something the Israelites hadn't been able to do for many years. So let's see what this invitation says. So do you remember that the kingdom of Israel was split into the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what the northern kingdom was called?
I know one was called Judah and the other one was called Jerusalem. No,
Israel.
Israel, yeah.
Jerusalem is in Judah, in the southern kingdom. No, so when it says Israel, I think from now on, it's talking about the northern kingdom, Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah. He wrote letters to Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come to the house of the Lord at Jerusalem to keep the Passover to the Lord, the God of Israel. So what is the house of the Lord at Jerusalem?
The temple?
Yep. Which temple?
The Temple of Solomon?
Yep. There's one temple, and it is the King Solomon temple. So when the northern kingdom split from the southern kingdom, they wanted to have their own special place to go worship God, because they didn't want to be beholden to Judah to go to the temple. And that's when their idolatry started, really, is they started building these holy places to worship so that they didn't have to go down to King Solomon's temple. And then that was what started their like worship of idols and stuff. So Hezekiah is now inviting everybody to the house of the Lord at Jerusalem to keep the Passover to the Lord, the God of Israel. For the king and his princes and all the assembly in Jerusalem had taken counsel to keep the Passover in the second month, for they could not keep it at that time because the priests had not consecrated themselves in sufficient number, nor had the people assembled in Jerusalem. And the plan seemed right to the king and all the assembly. So there's all sorts of rules about the rituals that they do. God has given them like all these ways of doing things. And you find all of those rules in the Bible, like in the like Deuteronomy and Numbers, and those several of those books in the Bible have instructions on how to do all these rites and rituals and celebrations and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a time appointed for the Passover, like when to celebrate it. And because of what was going on in the kingdom, they couldn't do it at the right time because it says they didn't have enough priests consecrated and ready to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Is that a bad thing that they're doing it?
Well, I think it's like one of those better late than never situations. Like I think God is pleased that they're trying to keep a Passover, which he instructed them to do. And I think Hezekiah is doing his best here. And his best is, well, we can't do it in the right time, but we're going to do it when we can so that we have the right number of priests and have everybody able to get here, you know? So it's like one of those better late than never sort of situations. So they decreed to make a proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba to Dan, that the people could come and keep the Passover to the Lord, the God of Israel, at Jerusalem, for they had not kept it as often as prescribed. Hezekiah is trying to follow the commandments here.
Mm-hmm.
Says that they haven't they weren't good at keeping the Passover.
I thought it said that they hadn't done it ever since they fought their way into their land.
Yeah, like that's what, since the times of Samuel, that's what it says in the Bible. That's what I was looking up. I was like, that's a contradiction to what it says about like when Josiah is the king. It says that they hadn't held the Passover since Samuel, but I guess they were speaking kind of, I don't say they were being hyperbolic, but they were saying that there wasn't one held like the one that Josiah did, that was like a full Passover at the right time with everything in place and to the degree that it was done. But it looks like they did occasionally, the Passover was occasionally celebrated. Like it would seem,
Mm-hmm.
just from reading the Bible. So couriers went throughout all Israel and Judah with letters from the king and his princes, as the king had commanded, saying, O people of Israel, return to the Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, that he may turn again to the remnant of you who have escaped from the hand of the kings of Assyria. Do not be like your fathers and your brothers, who were faithless to the Lord God of their fathers, so that he made them a desolation as you see. Do not now be stiff-necked as your fathers were, but yield yourselves to the Lord, and come to his sanctuary, which he has consecrated forever, and serve the Lord your God, that his fierce anger may turn away from you. For if you return to the Lord, your brothers and your children will find compassion with their captors and return to this land. For the Lord your God is gracious and merciful, and will not turn away his face from you if you return to him. So that's quite an invitation. The northern kingdom of Israel, like I said, they immediately started idolatry when they split from the south so that they could have their own places of worship. And how does God feel about idol worship?
He does not like it.
He does not like it. Because God cut off the people of Israel from his presence because of their horrible idol worship. He did not save them from invading armies. And this huge empire called Assyria was this big, terrifying empire that came through to wipe everybody out. And they just burnt everything to the ground, and they just tortured and maimed and killed everyone. So this big, scary empire came into Israel. And in the case of Israel, they just carried everybody off and only left a few people behind. So they moved their people in, and they took the Israelites out, and they basically replaced the whole not the whole population, but they integrated their people into the local population so that they no longer had power.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he's talking about in this invitation. He's saying, listen, all of your ancestors were faithless to the Lord God. And so you've been made a desolation. And so don't be stubborn like them, but yield yourselves to the Lord and come to his sanctuary. Serve the Lord your God, so that his retribution, his fierce anger, which is his justice, will be turned away from you. Because if you come to the Lord, your family, your brothers and your children, they've been taken captive and carried off back to Assyria, but God can soften the hearts of their captors and they'll have compassion on them. So the interesting thing is that God, he punished them for their idolatry. But what Hezekiah says here is that if you turn back to him and his fierce anger may turn away from you, he will soften the hearts of their captors. He'll still take care of you. For the Lord is gracious and merciful and will not turn away his face from you if you return to him. So there isn't a line that they can cross that is too far for them. If they were able to turn back to him, he will accept them. So there was a line that they crossed in their idolatry, in their society, where God sent a consequence for them. But still, they could still turn to him. He wasn't turning that option off. So the couriers, what's a courier?
It's a messenger.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the couriers, the messengers, went from city to city through the country of Ephraim and Manasseh and as far as Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. So if you received a message that was like, listen, you guys got what you deserved, God sent you a punishment, all of your family were a bunch of knuckleheads, but if you come back and apologize to God and humble yourself and serve him, he will help you. And they laughed him to scorn. They're like, huh, nice try. However, some men of Asher, of Manasseh, and of Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. The hand of God was also on Judah to give them one heart to do what the king and the princes commanded by the word of the Lord. So you can think of a solution. And you could say, oh, guys, I figured out what will be a good idea, that if we all get on board, this will help things. It'll make things so good. And then you go, okay, let's all work together on this. Let's all do this solution together. And you send out to everybody. You say, hey guys, here's the plan. We're inviting you to join us in this plan. And we know that it'll make things better. The likelihood of everyone getting on board with your idea is pretty low. Just from my experience, the percentage of positive feedback from that is usually like 5%. If you invite 30 people to a party that will solve all your problems, maybe 2 will show up. People do not show up because God has to take them on a journey to change their hearts. Most people are not going to just be like, you know what? Yes, I choose to be a completely different person or to do it a completely different way or to put any of my time out of my regular scheduled programming towards doing this. People don't change unless they're compelled. That's why God compels them. Even these people who have been compelled don't change.
Mm-hmm.
They had half of their kingdom carried off and they're still like, no way, bro. Do you have any thoughts on the invitation? Like, what do you think about Hezekiah's invitation?
I think it was smart, and he wanted to be helpful. He wanted to help these people, and they're like, ah.
What do you think about that? What do you think about their response there?
I think they're all a bunch of buffoons.
It's a lost opportunity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is required in that moment? Look at what happened. Some men of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun did what?
They humbled themselves.
It is not easy to humble yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a natural feeling to go, yes, I'm going to humble myself and not think about myself first. Right?
Mm-hmm.
People have to choose it. It's not something that they're going to feel naturally inclined to do.
I mean, some people might.
Well, these people did. Some of the men of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun.
But none of the women are children.
Who knows?
There's not these children.
I think that oftentimes in the Bible, when it just talks about the men represent a household. So, but sometimes it does include women and children in what they say. So it's hard to say what exactly they're referring to there. All right, because it had been so long, some visitors to Jerusalem were not familiar with the details of how to participate in Passover. So in these verses, we're going to see Hezekiah's response and the results of his response. For a majority of the people, many of them from Ephraim, Manasseh, Issachar, and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves, yet they ate the Passover otherwise than as prescribed. So remember we said that there's a very specific way of doing these rites and rituals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And celebrations. Well, it had been a long time. They didn't know how to do it, and they didn't do the ritual cleansing before they ate the Passover as it was supposed to be done. For Hezekiah had prayed for them, saying, may the good Lord pardon everyone who sets his heart to seek God, the Lord, the God of his fathers, even though not according to the sanctuary's rules of cleanness. So look at this Christ-like response from Hezekiah. Why is it Christ-like?
But she's not like, you all are idiots. You're not doing what it's supposed to be. He's like, please help them and forgive them and help them understand because they don't know what they're doing.
Right. Christ wants everybody to be in his kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And he paid for everybody's sins so that they could be there. And he understands your heart and your intentions, and he understands where you are, what you're capable of, your capacity, right? So Hezekiah, his heart is softened towards them because he has a Christ-like heart, because his heart is set on his God Jehovah. It has blossomed in him goodness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can identify somebody who has a relationship with Jesus Christ, is it blossoms goodness inside of their heart.
Mm-hmm.
So Hezekiah, when he's faced with this situation, he says, may the good Lord pardon everyone who sets their heart to seek God. It's like, what's important here is that they're seeking God, right?
Right.
That's lovely. And the Lord heard Hezekiah and healed the people. And the people of Israel who were present at Jerusalem kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with great gladness. And the Levites and the priests praised the Lord day by day, singing with all their might to the Lord. And Hezekiah spoke encouragingly to all the Levites who showed good skill in the service of the Lord. So they ate the food of the festival for 7 days, sacrificing peace offerings and giving thanks to the Lord, the God of their fathers. Then the whole assembly agreed together to keep the feast for another 7 days. So they kept it for another 7 days with gladness. For Hezekiah, king of Judah, gave the assembly 1,000 bulls, 7,000 sheep for offerings, and the princes gave the assembly 1,000 bulls and 10,000 sheep. And the priests consecrated themselves in great numbers. The whole assembly of Judah, and the priests and the Levites, and the whole assembly that came out of Israel, and the sojourners who came out of the land of Israel, and the sojourners who lived in Judah, rejoiced.
Mm-hmm.
There was great joy in Jerusalem. For since the time of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, there had been nothing like this in Jerusalem. Then the priests and the Levites arose and blessed the people, and their voice was heard, and their prayer came to his holy habitation in heaven.
I like that one.
Doesn't that have such a peaceful spirit about it?
That one's so happy. I love it.
I know. It just makes you feel happy and peaceful.
Yeah, because lately there's all been like war, and this king died, and this king was evil, and this king died. And now it's like, happy Passover, and I love it.
Well, it's interesting because Hezekiah had a true inspiration about what would be good. And he challenged people to overcome their pride so that they could participate in it. And those who overcame their pride and participated in it had a beautiful experience.
Mm-hmm.
So he was right. It was like, come and do this. It will be a good thing. The tragedy in this story is all of those who would not come. Because the beauty is that there was this opportunity for joy and peace and love that you don't get. It says, there was great joy in Jerusalem, for since the time of Solomon, there had been nothing like this in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a beautiful thing to be a part of.
And they just missed the most beautiful opportunity.
Yeah. So can we make these opportunities, like we live in a time where people are struggling. Everybody's just struggling, it feels like. And there are opportunities to worship God together with your brothers and sisters in Christ and just partake in that peace and love and joy. And so what can we do to be like Hezekiah or like the people who responded to his invitation? What can we do in our day and age? Like, think of your life. As Christ, so Hezekiah would be like a type of Christ here, right? Or a substitute or an example of what Christ is like. So is Christ inviting you to a celebration or to a worship of his atonement? Does he invite you to that? So what can you do today to accept that invitation and participate in that? What are the opportunities that you personally have?
Like church activities?
Okay, yeah. What's the number one thing that is an actual representation of his atonement that we partake of every week?
Sacrament.
Yeah. We get to partake of the sacrament and renew covenants and sit in humility and peace and love and gratitude for what he did for us.
Also, I'm very grateful that I can go to the temple and do baptisms, even if it's just baptisms. At least I can still go inside the temple because I'm glad it's not just for the adults. Because I have this opportunity to go to the temple and help God's work.
So you get to gather in a place where you get to participate in his work. That's so beautiful. In the temple, you become consecrated, where you dedicate yourself to God. You are cleansed. You're anointed. You do all those things when you grow up and become an endowed member of the church. You go through all those things like these priests went through. They were consecrated, they were cleansed, they participated in the rituals. You get to basically become like those priests when you become an endowed member of the temple, of the church. So then you get to experience that gathering on both sides of the veil, both those who have passed on and those who are here gather in the temple to participate in those ordinances and to rejoice with great joy
Mm-hmm.
in the atonement and in the gathering of Israel and all those things. So, yes, you get to be a peacemaker in this life for those beyond the veil and those on the earth by gathering in these beautiful ceremonies that renew you, renew your faith, and remind you. And you get to partake in the spirit of a gathering because where two or three are gathered together, their God is also.
Mm-hmm.
His spirit is magnified. The greater the gathering, the greater the magnification. So it's a beautiful experience. All right. Love you guys.
I love you, mommy.